Good morning, my friends. I hope you all have had a fantastic week so far. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jackie, and I have the absolute pleasure of getting to tell the kids' story here at Agape every Sunday. So this week, we're continuing off of last week. Last week, we talked about a guy named Joseph and him being sold into slavery by his brothers. And so this week we are talking about Joseph again, and this is going to be in Genesis chapter 39. So let's get started. All right, guys. So if you remember back to last week, we talked about Joseph and how he was sold to Egypt as a slave, right? And so he was sold to one of the Pharaoh's attendants named Potiphar. And Potiphar decided to take Joseph in to his house, and because God was with Joseph, he was blessed, right? And everything that he did was blessed. Now, Potiphar let Joseph stay inside his house and live in the house with them and his family. And Joseph was really successful. He took care of everything, and everything was blessed because of Joseph, right? And so Potiphar saw this and saw that it was good, and he put Joseph in charge of his whole house, all of his other servants, all of the fields, everything in the house, all of it. Joseph was put in charge. And Egyptians were actually blessed because of this. And so Potiphar decided to go on a little trip, right? And he left Joseph in charge because he knew that things were going to be taken care of because Joseph was always successful. Joseph always had a plan, and things always worked out when Joseph was in charge because the Lord was with him. And so Potiphar left. He went on a trip, a couple days, and Potiphar's wife tried to trick Joseph, actually. She tried to get him to lay down with her and sleep with her. And Joseph actually told her no. He said, with me in charge, your husband doesn't have anything to worry about except for the food that he eats. And so this really irritated her, but she kept pushing. She kept trying to get Joseph to lay with her. And it kept not working, right? Joseph was smarter than that. He knew that he shouldn't do that. And he even told her, he said, how am I supposed to sin against my master and against God? How is that right? And she really didn't like that idea. So the next day, a couple days later, right, after she keeps trying to get Joseph to lay with her, he actually ends up getting tricked. So what happens is Joseph walks into the house one day to see what needs to be taken care of to do his job. And none of the other servants were there. Nobody else was in the house except for Potiphar's wife. And she grabs him by the cloak, which is like his coat, grabs him by the cloak and pulls him into her and says, come lay with me, come sleep with me. And Joseph gets so uncomfortable and is so worried about it that he actually takes off his coat, right, leaves it there in her hand, and runs out the door, right? And this doesn't sound like a problem at all, right? Except for when all of the servants came back, all of the other servants came back, they saw his cloak with Potiphar's wife, right? And they started to ask questions, and she didn't want to seem like a bad wife, so what she said was, oh, well, that Hebrew slave that Potiphar brought home, he tried to lay with me. He tried to sleep with me. And when I called for help, he ran out the door, but he left his cloak behind. And they didn't have any reason to not believe her, right? She was Potiphar's wife. She was technically in charge of them by marriage. And so they were upset. And then when Potiphar came home, she told him the same story. She said, that Hebrew servant that you brought into your house, into our house, tried to sleep with me. He tried to lay with me. And when I called for help, he left his cloak behind. Right? He ran out the door and left his cloak behind. Now, this made Potiphar really upset because, again, he had no reason to not believe his wife. He brought a stranger into their house. So, Potiphar believed his wife and ended up sending Joseph to prison. And the prison that Joseph was sent to was actually the prison that all of the king's prisoners were sent to. And because the Lord was still with Joseph, because he didn't do anything wrong, he really just tried to leave her alone as much as he could. But because Joseph did nothing wrong, the Lord was still with him. And the Bible even says that the prison warden, the guy who's in charge of all of the prisoners, found favor in Joseph, right? And it says that he ended up putting Joseph in charge of all of the other prisoners. And while Joseph was in charge of the prisoners, the warden, the attendant, didn't have to pay any attention to the prisoners because everything was taken care of. Alrighty, so that is all I have for you guys story-wise today. Hopefully you all have a fantastic week, and if you have no plans on Wednesday at 7 o'clock your time, 8 o'clock my time, I would absolutely love to see you all on Kids Night. It is going to be at 7 o'clock Central Time on Zoom. And if you have any questions at all or anything, please feel free to reach out to Pastor Florin and I, and we will be more than happy to get you linked into the right place.